I can tell you from experience that the best way to reach a very high level of skill in software development, or if you just want to break into the field like you're learning on your own right now, the best way to do that is to look at somebody who's done that or somebody who's at the level that you want, and then to reverse engineer how they got there, right? So you want to look very closely at their habits. What are they actually doing? You want to look at even their belief systems. Like, what do they believe that helps them to get there? And then just do that, because you can get the same results and you can probably even do better because you can learn from a lot of their mistakes. That's what I try to do on this channel. So with the spirit of that, I want to talk about what I see the top echelon of developers do that really separates them from the rest. And there is something, it's really just one key idea that if you truly understand, can pay massive dividends. It can be, working where you want to work, making the money you want to make, or just being the type of developer where you feel like you have control of things, right? So what is it? What am I talking about here? What is the one big thing, right? So the thing you have to understand about being what I would call a top tier developer is that they make really, really good use of their time. You and I both have the same amount of hours per week, right? This is the great equalizer here. You have 168 hours. If you're a new developer, say you just started out, you started learning JavaScript, and you compared yourself to me, guess what? I'm gonna be much more efficient with my time. If I'm given a task to do something in code and you are too, I'm gonna beat you every single time because I have thousands of hours of experience that I can apply to solving this problem and putting out some work. You can probably do it, but it's gonna take you so much longer. Now, this is how most people think of how to be better at software development, to gain some skill, right? So the more skilled I am, the less time it takes to do things. And that is true, right? Because going back to my example, I'm gonna be faster than you. Now, when it comes to your career, guess what? All the people around you, all the other software developers around you, they're gonna be on the same level, even if they have a couple more years of experience. I'm kind of generalizing here, but the basic idea is that most people, when it comes to software development, are on the same plane. The only thing that really differentiates people is intelligence level. So if you're really smart, you can get things done faster. And then there's also the amount of time that you're willing to spend on things, right? So for example, if I'm willing to work 100 hours per week and you're only willing to work 40 hours per week, I have an advantage that I'm gonna get more done. And this is how most people think. Most people think like, look, I gotta be more intelligent, but that's pretty fixed. And then they're gonna work more. But honestly, we can't all work 100 hours a week. And sometimes you just can't do that. You get sick or you have family, or whatever it may be. So you have to go beyond that. And the thing that I see that really makes somebody be able to do a lot is really understanding how to optimize and automate, right? So everything in the software development world is an automation. Think about what an automation means. It means you're taking a task that you usually have to manually do and you're letting a computer do it. You're letting some code do it. Or you're having some process where a human doesn't have to be involved. So you're saving both time and manpower. So a really crude example of this is, think back like to the 20s and 30s, whenever you watch a movie and they had these switchboards. So if I wanted to call my mom, I would call the switchboard. It'd be a person. I'd say, look, I want to call my mom. And she would go ahead and then switch me over to that line. Well, guess what? We eventually automated that, right? Whether it was through maybe computer code or something like that, or just a process that we have in place. I dial a number that calls directly to my mom. So there's no middleman. It takes a lot less time. And there's also no one I have to pay, or the phone company has to pay, so they can reinvest that money into other things. That is the heart of automations. Nowadays, we use software to automate things, right? So for example, I work for an immigration attorney, and a lot of what the immigrations attorney have to do is they have clients who are trying to become US citizens. You have to collect so much information about those people. You have to fill out a ton of paperwork. You have to be very precise. You can't make mistakes. And people had to hire law clerks to do that. They would interview the people, they'd fill out forms, they'd be very meticulous. Well, now instead of having multiple law clerks, you can buy some software where you can actually fill out information in online forms that will actually populate paper forms. So you can actually print those forms out, and the amount of humans you need to do that have gone down. So instead of having 5 law clerks, maybe you just have 1. So the amount of money each law firm can save and the amount of time that they can save is really, really reduced, and also the amount of errors you can do as well. So that's an amazing use of automation. Now, here's where it comes into play in your career. Most people don't realize that they waste so much time on tiny little tasks that can be automated, okay? So with software development, 2 things come to mind for me. Number 1 is something like keyboard shortcuts, okay? It sounds so stupid, right? So in Visual Studio Code, there are a bunch of keyboard shortcuts to do many different things. Like you can select multiple lines, you can move your cursor to the end of the line, you can delete a line that's above or below your cursor. These are all shortcuts that don't really seem like they would save time, but here's the thing. It actually does, because each of those keyboard shortcuts, like something like a multi-line select where you could delete 3 lines, most people will use their mouse, they'll select a line, they'll delete it, they'll select the next line, they'll delete it, or they'll select all 3 lines and delete it. What happens if you could do that all with pretty much 3 clicks or 4 clicks of the key, right? It's a lot faster. So if you can learn the ins and outs of something like your IDE's shortcuts, that can minimize the time that you do something. And yes, you can say, well, that's only going to save me 5 seconds each time or 1 second each time. That adds up as you are coding, right? So that's one easy way you can optimize your time, or that can be considered an automation. I consider that an automation. Another one as well. This is something that actually happened recently to one of my clients, right? So I think she works in some sort of accounting firm where they're analyzing spreadsheets. They have to look through spreadsheets and make sure that certain accounts should be deleted or something like that. There was a task she was doing that took 20 minutes, and she realized that what she could do is create some software, really a script, that could analyze those spreadsheets and look for the accounts that needed to be deleted. It would spit that out for her, and then she wouldn't have to do that work. So 20 minutes could be reduced down to about, a second, right? So she spent about a week doing this. It works exactly as she wanted it to, and now she has 20 minutes of her time back. And if you add that up every single day, every single week, every single year, she's getting a massive amount of time back. So if you combine something like that, you also have code snippets in Visual Studio Code where you can take little commands like a 3-letter word, and that will actually print out a bunch of boilerplate code like you can see here in React, something I use all the time. All these little automations add up. So when you look at other software developers who are trying to work more, they think that it's about intelligence, like maybe they're trying to be more intelligent, which again is pretty fixed. You're going to be competing at a completely different level, because what you're doing is basically every time that you create an automation, you're taking those 5 seconds, minute, 20 minutes that you're reducing down to a button click, and you're leveraging your time. So every 1 hour that you work, it's like 10 hours of somebody else. So that way, when you go into a company and they assign you work, you're going to be doing it a lot faster. This, by the way, requires a rethink of everything. So you can understand the concepts that I'm basically laying out here for you. But what you have to think about is you have to start really focusing and analyzing everything in your life that could be automated, right? So that could be how you wake up in the morning, right? So for me, I realized that one of the things I do every day that I really hate is having to open the shades in my house, right? Stupid, I know. It takes me 2 minutes to walk around my house, open the shades manually. Well, I decided I have a little bit extra money, so I bought some smart shades. So what that means is basically I bought some shades that connect to my home internet. I can basically have a command and also a timer that opens them and closes them. So now part of my morning routine has been made a little bit quicker, right? So now I can spend more time on this video, for example. I can spend time practicing, doing some research on it, right? Where I didn't have to stop something else I was doing to open and close the shades. That's obviously something very, very small, but adds up. It could also be something where you delegate a task, right? So what a lot of people will do who have the money, who can afford it, will hire somebody to help watch their kids during the day, right? Because if you work from home and you find it very distracting, well, you can hire somebody to do that. Or say you had the money to hire a chef of some sort, or to get prepackaged meals. So you don't have to cook, you can get that time back to work on your career or work on some creative endeavor, right? So you're taking the time you have and you're leveraging it, right? So the usual 1 hour that most people have, you're able to get, again, 5 times, 10 times, or what you really want to aim for is like that 100 times what the normal person could do, because you're having other processes in place, code that's running in place of you, or you're delegating it to somebody else who can do it for you. So again, I know this idea can on its face seem pretty rudimentary, like it doesn't mean that much, but when you truly understand it, that's where you can reach that level where you're getting more done than the people around you. It seems like you're doing something crazy, like you're really smart, but you're just mentally focused on what you can optimize, what you can automate in your life to the point where everything's a click of a button. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you are interested in working in my mentorship program, which I'm running, definitely check that out in the link below. You have to do an intake call, an assessment call to see if you're a good fit. On that call, ask you about your goals. I really want to figure out what's not working for you. And if the mentorship program I can tell is a great fit, we can go into that in terms of the investment, how it works. But you have to go through one of those calls. So check it out below. I'll leave that in the description. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. And as always, peace out, everybody.